So Universal is making live-action remakes now. So there's that. And it's got more severed limbs than the whole Star Wars franchise. How to Train Your Dragon is the new live-action version of Universal DreamWorks' 2010 animated feature with returning director Dean DeWoe, and stars Mason Thames as Hiccup, an awkward Viking kid who lives on an island that has a little bit of a dragon problem. The island people, who at a young age are trained to kill dragons, all see Hiccup as an outsider, weak, and kind of useless, which is kind of a huge problem considering that his father, Stoick, again played by Gerard Butler, is the leader of these people. And Hiccup is forced to train how to fight and essentially kill dragons. He befriends a dragon that no one has actually been able to see in real life, and is forced to go against his island village, and his father helping them to understand that their hatred for dragons and their relationship to them was essentially wrong the whole time. Now, I have never seen the animated version of this film myself. I actually own all of them, and I couldn't ever get myself to watch them. I'm not a huge DreamWorks animation fan. I was okay with Despicable Me, Kung Fu Panda I guess is okay, but I'm a huge Shrek fan though. I mean, that's the one that really gets to me. I love that movie. Eat me! Now that's an animated movie that I can watch over and over again, but for the most part, I just can't get into DreamWorks animation. I honestly enjoy most of the Disney animated features more. I actually watched the first 15 minutes of the animated film and I really enjoyed it, so I turned it off and decided that I had an amazing opportunity here to go in completely fresh. One of the problems that I have with these live-action remakes is that I come in already biased because I love the original so much. So I turned it off and threw on Jean-Luc Godard's French film Breathless instead. Not really a film that you should watch before screening a film like How to Train Your Dragon, probably. So first off, the good about the film. I actually enjoyed this movie. I'm actually pretty shocked, honestly. I absolutely hate live-action remakes with a passion, with maybe one or two exceptions. But this one, not only did I not hate it, but I wasn't checking my watch for the time or reading the back of my popcorn bucket because I was bored. I saw it in IMAX because I was a little surprised that they decided to shoot 50 minutes of the film with an Arri Alexa large format IMAX camera. And I'm glad that they did because it really gives depth to the flying scenes specifically. And the film actually looks really beautiful. A lot of the film was shot in Northern Ireland in places like Tollymore Forest Park, Dunsforig Castle, and Merlo Bay. Beautiful areas that deserved a large format for theaters. Of course, a lot of the film was shot in studio in Belfast, with, I'm sure, a lot of blue screen, but they blend the real and the unreal locations pretty well. The cinematography is well done and is well thought out throughout the movie, and not as thrown together as you'd see in the other live-action remakes. The use of camera movement was really exciting and provokes emotion, especially in the flying scenes. Mason Thames gives a very convincing performance as Hiccup, whose story about a kid who's different than everyone else and is an outcast and obviously considered weird, who has a parent who they can't live up to, being his legendary father, which is always a story I enjoy and that I think everyone in one way or another can relate to. I love seeing Gerard Butler return to play the live-action version of his animated version Stoick. He nails the character in live action and he's a lot of fun to watch because he's the character. This is Gerard Butler. But he also plays the character slightly over the top, almost like an animated character in his movements and facial expressions, which blends the animated version and the live-action version together very well. Nick Frost I've always been a huge fan of, and he doesn't disappoint as Gobber, or is it Goober? He's fun and endearing, and I loved how they didn't cheapen out on all the replaceable arm attachments in the live-action version. He felt like a true representation of the animated version of his character, at least from what I saw in the 50 minutes of the animated film. Julian Dennison was also a nice surprise as Fishlegs. He doesn't have a lot to do with the film, but I love seeing him pop up in movies unexpectedly. He's a lot of fun to watch. The only character that I didn't really care for was Astrid, played by Nico Parker. The relationship that she and Hiccup have at the end of the film was sort of unexpected and not really convincing for me. I think that I had high expectations from what I saw of her again in the 15 minutes of the animated film with her intro. and her walking in slow motion with a blaze of fire behind her, which they didn't have in the remake. They actually have her putting out a fire, which was less impactful. Her character was pretty emotionless the entire movie, which I would understand in the beginning of the film, but at the end, she was pretty stoic. When she kisses Hiccup at the end of the film, it's super awkward and just out of place. It's a very disconnected scene. The CGI in this film of the dragons, I really didn't mind as much as I thought I would. The realism of the dragons aren't that convincing, but they aren't absolutely unbelievable in the film either. It's sort of the same old story, really. 3D models that look like what you would expect them to look like. Same as Avatar, Jurassic Park, nothing revolutionary. You'd think that we'd make some leaps and bounds in the last 10 to 20 years. The CGI didn't take me out of the story though, and I especially enjoyed the flying scenes because the scenery was real. The film kind of seems like it's a shot-for-shot remake, and at least from what I've seen of the animated film, or at least the first 15 minutes, but I could also tell that they had to have added scenes because this film is longer in runtime than the animated feature by like half an hour. I couldn't tell you where or what they added, but there are some scenes that did feel like they could have been shortened to get the film to flow a little better than it did. The film has a great message about understanding and empathy, even towards those perceived as different, that can lead to positive change and peace that is really important for kids to understand now, maybe more than ever, and something adults too need to hear in a world that's filled with so much misguided hate. It really encourages embracing individuality, challenging stereotypes, and the power of compassion over violence, the danger of tribalism and how people can hate something without really understanding why, or hating someone or something out of ignorance, which is probably the same story carried over from the original film. But if you're gonna do a remake, doing it with this message isn't necessarily a bad thing. The music of the film sounds like the same music from the original film composed by John Powell, and I love that they kept the music as is. It didn't need to be changed at all because it in itself is a character in the story, and the music is impactful and very memorable. How to Train Your Dragon is a fun, memorable film that lives up to its original, or at least the first 15 minutes that I saw. And yes, I do plan on watching the rest of the original today, and I look forward to seeing the sequels. The cast is a lot of fun to watch, especially Butler and Frost, and the film is, I think, a great representation of the animated film. Did the animated film need a remake? Probably not, but I really enjoyed it. Maybe more because I didn't see the original, but I had a great time. I'm giving How to Train Your Dragon 3 stars out of 5 for all these reasons. It's rated PG for intense action and some frightening scenes that may be intense for younger kids, but it's considered appropriate in my opinion for most audiences. So let me know what you thought about this remake of the animated classic. Is it considered a classic after 15 years? Are you a fan of the original? Let me know how it compared if you saw both. Like and subscribe for the latest reviews fresh from theaters. And remember, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and let's see it together.
Yeah, touchy subject. I've flunked dragon training a few times.
It was 4 times, actually.
Yeah, and it's called being held back, as in too valuable to let go of.